I saw the blunt wound on the guard's head and I looked again at the flashlight I was carrying. Oh god. This was Norm's locker. The door was dented, like someone had punched it. I don't remember him doing that when we worked there. My head edged and I recalled the last time Norman, Rachel and I all had lunch together. Rachel seemed so much more at ease when we all hang out. A utility shelf, crammed with mismatched tools and items. There was a claw hammer on the shelf. Did I take the hammer? As I took the hammer, I noticed it wasn't as dusty as the rest of the tools on the shelf. Being useful and productive. They're in this plant. That was all I ever wanted. When the factory closed, everything got worse. The locker was a complete mess, hidden at the bottom. Tough was a magnetic card. Did I take the card? I slipped the key card into my pocket. Another panel that I hoped could help me get power back. The keycard I found seemed like it would pass through this reader. Did I use a keycard? There was some kind of ventilation head there. It looked like I could jump to the room below. My leg hurt enough as it was, but I couldn't see another option. Did I jump? Oh man, my leg hurt like hell. The bottom of the ventilation hatch hung open. This was pretty high up. I wasn't sure if anyone could have got back up there. There was a crumpled up letter on the floor. It had been scratched out heavily, and it was hard to make out. Did I try to read the letter? Most of the letter was violently scratched out with what looked to be a ballpoint pen. All I could make out was "need to." Just don't drinking, need Norman. Who was Norman writing to? That poor guard. Was the flashlight I carried his? It looked like he had met his end violently. I only hoped it was quick. I had to get home to Rachel, but I couldn't stop thinking about Norman. He and Rachel were friends. Could he help? It wasn't like I really had anyone else to turn to. My leg burned with pain. I only hoped I could find my way through the dark path before me and get to Norman's store. The garbage bin was a disgusting mess of rotten food and slick, black bags. I saw a thin, greenish corner poking out from one of the bags. It was my driver's license. It looked damaged. Did I take it back? I cleaned the card off as best I could. It looked pretty beat up. I was amazed to have found my credit card, and now this. I took the card into my wallet, next to my credit card. Did somebody steal this from me? I wondered why they would have stashed it there. Sounded like it was going to start raining again. I had entered Norman's place. This was the back of the store that he ran. It was oddly quiet, except for the faint sound of a television. The entrance to the front of the store was locked from the inside. Looked like it couldn't just pop it open. It needed a key. There was a bit of blood on the keyhole. What the hell? One of Rachel's old anthem coats hung on a rack. That was Norman's bedroom, wasn't it? What was he doing there? Inside that cabinet was a small but impressive collection of hunting rifles, shotguns, and even a few items I didn't think were legal here. One of the slots on the rack was empty. The gun I had found seemed to match the other there. If the handgun was Norman's, what the hell was he doing with it? The gun would fit there. Did I place it back in the cabinet? I carefully pushed the piece back in place and felt a great burn lifted. Norman, what were you doing with all these? A speck of something dark and wet stained one of the sleeves. What was this? It looked like a pull chain hanging from the ceiling. I wondered where it leads. Did I pull the chain? I gave the chain a single tug and the simply falling ladder to the attic popped down. The TV still flickered some insufferable channels. Jesus! I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Norman, my co-worker and one of the few friends I had in this town, lay dead beside his armchair. His face and shirt were covered in blood. It looked like he'd been shot trying to get up. His eyes were wide with shock. Through they were already dying. Norman, what was Rachel doing here? Why did you have her coat? Norman, maybe you deserved better. You probably did. Did I close his eyes? I closed his eyelids down, shuddering as I did so. I wasn't sure or wanted to give him peace, or if I just couldn't stand to think anymore about what was going on. I'd never been Norman's place before. At least I didn't remember ever doing so. The kitchen trash bin smelled fresh. I didn't dig through that mess, did I? I found a hairpin amongst the rotting food and trash and pocketed it. There were takeout containers and fruit scraps. Looked like Norman was eating for two. Tucked against the wall was an old sleeping bag and a portable camping stove. The sleeping bag smelled earthy. Had it been used recently? Norman, were you in those woods? The camping stove looked never newer and had a relatively fresh fuel canister locked in place. That didn't seem to save. There was a large cardboard box that hadn't been sealed. Did I open it? I opened up the old cardboard box and wasn't entirely surprised by what I saw. There were more of Rachel's things, more of my wife's clothes. Photos, shoes, even that old radio I gave her. Why, Rachel? What were you doing here? With Norman? I just couldn't believe it. My head arched with everything that was running through it. I hope to hell Rachel had nothing to do with that mess. I used the hairpin to Pixellook. The hairpin snapped in half, so I threw it away. The general store was small, but it was clean. It had the usual things: postcards, snacks, magazines, and canned goods. I never went there much. Rachel usually stopped by after work if we needed anything. The register was mostly empty and a fat stack of travel magazines sat beside it. I wondered if someone had robbed the place before killing Norman upstairs. The icebox seemed to be unplugged. It must have been off for a while. Most of its contents were half melted. What was the matter, Norman? Cheated on your hydro bills too? There were various postcards from the area, especially from the tourist traps. One of the postcards showed an old black and white photo of the water tower. It looked to be in much better shape then. Of all the postcards that once seemed to be the most popular, there were only a few left. I'd been weeks since I'd last seen Norman, and finding him that way still left me cold. Thinking of him slumped again, that chair only cemented my vigilance in getting rid of that gun. It looked like someone had taken that piece from his store. But why was it in those tunnels? As I stepped outside, I recalled that dusty old box of clothes in Norman's attic. I felt like I had only discovered more questions, no answers. But I was close to home. It was time to find out the truth. Was locked. This wasn't the right gate. The gate was locked tight. It wasn't my house.